What's up, everybody? It's Norman Woods. Hope everybody's having a good day. I'm gonna teach you guys how to do the myth, the legend that is the CABALLERIAL today. I want to say thank you to my patrons. You guys know who you are. Daniel M, Kelly Kingi, and Zack Lee. Thank you guys so much. Everybody else, you should consider signing up to be one of my patrons. You get to do things like choose which video I'm doing next. So my patrons pick this video and the video before. You also get first dibs on Collage Skateboards gear, live streams, and one-on-one video conferences with me where I'll help you with your tricks. One more thing before we get into the CABALLERIAL video is Collage Skateboards, my brand. We have some boards available right now. We've got the snake graphic in blue and in yellow. Still got a few left at collagesskateboards.com, but they are going fast. So yeah, if you're interested in skating one of these, we got them in 8, 8 1/4, and 8.5. And they're also available for purchase at Kingswell in Los Feliz and Baqueto Cold Brew in downtown LA right now. Let's get into the video. The first thing for cabs that we have to go over is actually half cabs, right? Because it's actually the perfect starting point for this. I'm not gonna give half cabs a specific video of their own because I can cover it here and it'll put you well on your way to doing a CABALLERIAL. So with all 180s, backside and front side, you're basically ollieing and you're using momentum that's created with your shoulders. That's where every spin of the skateboard starts. You're using momentum that's created at your shoulders to spin the board. The first thing that I would learn here is how to do a half cab, which is a FAKIE backside 180. And this is a really simple trick. I actually teach the kids that I do one-on-one skate lessons with half cabs before shove-its, back 180s, or anything like that, because most people can get it fairly easily. So what you're gonna do is, obviously you're gonna be able to ollie, you're gonna be able to FAKIE ollie, which for some people is actually easier once they've learned how to ollie. And you're gonna start by putting your foot in the ollie box, winding your shoulders in the opposite direction that you're planning on turning. So for me, since I'm turning backside, I'd be turning towards my right. So wind your shoulders the opposite direction, and once you're all the way wound, you're going to start spinning back, and as you're spinning back, you're going to be bending your knees. You want to time this so that by the time your shoulders are parallel with your board again, your knees are crouched as low as you need to go. Once your shoulders are parallel with the board again, you're gonna pop the board and you're gonna continue to spin the rest of the direction. So think of it as like a rubber band. When you turn the opposite direction, you're gonna use most of the force you have to spin back. And once your shoulders have reached the board again, you're gonna pop. And then you're gonna start to extend your legs a little bit, but keep them crouched. And then you're just gonna land once you've spun 180 degrees, and try to keep a little bit of a crouch so you can deal with the impact. So that's the little bit about half cabs that I wanted to get into before cabs, because obviously if you can't do one, you're not gonna be able to do the other. Maybe there's an exception to the rule, but I've never seen it. You got your half cab down. You're pretty confident with them. You can do them at a decent speed, and you can do them, you know, I'd say 5 out of 10 times you want to be able to land them. But really, since a half cab is such an easy trick, you should be leaning towards like 8 out of 10 times being able to do a half cab and roll away from it at a decent speed and comfortably before you attempt a cab. And now the CABALLERIAL is one of these tricks, much like the kickflip. If you've watched my kickflip video, I explained how there's 3 different kickflips, right? Well, there's also 3 different cabs that you're gonna do over the stage of your skateboarding. And it's a little bit different from the situation with kickflip. The reason for that being, excuse me, that when you're doing your cabs, the second and third cab, you'll kind of do both of them at the same time. It just depends on the obstacle that you're skating. So the first cab is gonna be really simple, and most people that I know started out with this one. You're going to do everything that I said about the half cab, and you're gonna land with your front foot on the nose of your board, and you're gonna allow the front wheels to contact the ground when you've spun the full 180 of the half cab, and then you're going to pivot the rest of the way around. So it's kind of like half cab, wheels hit the ground, pivot around the rest of the way. And this is the easiest way for you to get started doing caballeros, because spinning the entire 360 from the jump is gonna be nearly impossible unless you're some kind of physical freak, because your body's not gonna be used to creating enough force to spin you around 360. You know, it's a skill that you have to acquire. So basically, you're gonna do everything I said for the half cab. You're gonna spin your shoulders in the opposite direction. You're gonna create force and spin back in the direction that you're doing the half cab in. You're gonna crouch as you're spinning back. Once your shoulders are parallel with the board, you're gonna pop and allow the spin to continue to happen. Now, with this one, you wanna make sure that you keep your knees even more tucked, because landing on those front wheels is gonna be really awkward at first. So the lower you are to the ground, the better a chance you're gonna have of executing this, because obviously the lower your center of gravity is, the better your balance is. So you're gonna do your half cab and you're gonna try to keep tucked even more so than you normally would. And you're gonna make sure that when your wheels contact the ground, you spin the rest of the way. So the more force you create in the beginning with your winding of the shoulders, the easier it's gonna be for you to do that pivot. In the beginning, it's gonna be hard though. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna do the half cab, you're gonna land on your nose, and you're going to fall a few times. So be ready for that. But after you get past that initial falling phase, you'll be able to start to spin more and more. And you'll probably end up doing like 270s first, and then you'll work your way up to 360s. But it's always a process, right? So that's the first kind of caballerial, where it's like a pivot, right? And once you get those down pretty well and you're able to do them at a decent speed, then you're gonna advance to the second type of caballerial. And this one is similar to that. There is one of the video examples that I'm using, I'm cabbing over like an electrical box type thing. And I utilize this second cab for this. What it is you're gonna do basically a FAKIE 270. So this is to the point where you're used to creating enough force with your spin, and you're popping the board well enough that you can get it to spin at least 270 degrees in the air. And then when you hit the ground, you're gonna land with both wheels, and the force you've created is gonna allow you to slide the rest of the 360. Now this is the way that most caballerials that are on flat ground, or that are over an obstacle, or the rare time that you see someone do a caballerial like up a set of stairs or up a loading dock or something, that's how they're usually executed. The reason for this is that for you to spin the full 360 degrees in the air, you've got to be popping your cab pretty high. So that's just not going to happen most of the time, and it's completely acceptable. If you go back and watch most of the skate videos you look at, you might see when someone cab over a lunch table, they're going to be using this second method. You're going to execute it much the same way that you would the first one, right? You're going to spin your shoulders the opposite direction. For this one, you're gonna have to spin back even harder, because you need to create as much force as possible to get your body and your board to turn 270 or more degrees, right? So spin, start to turn back, bend your knees as you're winding back. Once you're parallel with the board, again, pop. Once you popped, you're gonna allow the force to turn you the rest of the way. And you kind of wanna be tucking your knees in as you're popping. So as you're gaining height, be pulling your knees up like you would with trying to ollie higher. And then you're gonna just kind of wait to hit the ground, and the momentum should spin you the rest of the way. The harder your wheels are, the easier this one's gonna be to do, because soft wheels do not do that power slide thing very well. And this is the way that most of us are gonna cab most of the time. I'm not saying that you can't, that it's impossible to turn the full 360 on flat ground, because I've done it, but the majority of the time you're gonna be using this spin, and the majority of the time that you see people do cabs, they're gonna use the spin and they're gonna slide the rest of the way. That's just how it is. So the third type of cab is naturally where you're able to spin the entire 360 degrees, right? Most of the time when I see this, it's gonna be off of a gap or off of stairs, you know? And the reason for that is just that you have more time and more, like, to spin the board. So obviously you can get the entire spin done before you hit the ground. And I don't think I need to go over specifically anything different that you do for this, other than if you're trying to do this on flat ground, work on the spin, because you being able to create force that travels from your shoulders to your hips to your feet and to the board is what's going to allow you to spin that full 360 degrees. So the more you practice that and the more force you're able to create starting with your shoulders, the better chance you're going to have of doing this on flat ground. But for most of us, when we're trying to do this, we're going to be going downstairs, down a gap, something like that. And I do have some tips to help you out with that. Since it's a fakie trick, a lot of times fakie tricks down gaps or stairs, they're really scary to us because we're rolling backwards, right? It's not that scary. You just have to remember a few things. There's a tendency that we have when we're skating fakie to lean as we pop. You just want to stay away from that. Like, you want to think of your body as only moving two different ways, right? You have the horizontal axis, and that's where your shoulders spin. And then you have the vertical axis, and that's where you crouch and where you extend. And so you don't want to allow the horizontal part of your body to tip forward or backward at all, because that's going to throw off your balance. So when you're doing a cab off of stairs, you have to be very mindful of that. You want to keep yourself on the correct plane. The other thing is you want to pop pretty early. So you're going to need some speed. And with caballerials, back 360s, front 360s, any trick that spins 360 degrees, the faster you go, in most cases, the easier it is for you to spin the entire rotation. So you're gonna keep your body balanced. When you're crouching, you're gonna make sure that you only crouch down. You're gonna try to bend your back as little as possible. And that's really with every trick. It's gonna happen, your back is gonna bend to some degree because we're not robots, but the more that you're paying attention and trying to minimize that type of movement, the better off you're gonna be. And the next thing is that when you pop, when we skate off of stairs, I believe I've said this before, we're not trying to project ourselves up into the air. So don't focus on popping higher when you're trying to do a cab downstairs. Focus on popping outward. So you're trying to spin yourself forward. You're trying to pop, and you're trying to use the force that your pop creates to project yourself forward. That's also going to help you with the spin. The best person to watch for this, I've said it before in other videos, is Andrew Reynolds. Like, there's a reason that he was so good at skating stairs, and particularly at doing back 360s, caballerials, nollie caballerials downstairs, because him being a taller guy and the force that he was having to deal with landing, I feel like he learned to project himself outward instead of trying to pop higher when he was skating downstairs. And it's really evident if you watch his part, I can't remember the name of it, but it was the last America video that he had a full amazing part in. You really see him projecting his tricks outward. Also, the frontside flip that he did over the handrail of the Hollywood 16. Like, he pops, but he's really putting his attention into pushing his momentum forward. And that's what's gonna help you out with skating stairs the most. So back to this caballerial, right? You've kept your body in the right position. You're going fast because you're gonna need to go pretty fast to cab down a set of stairs. You get away with going kind of slow for a 2-stair or a 3-stair, but really once you're cabbing anything over that, you're gonna need a healthy speed. You're gonna pop the usual 12 to 18 inches in front of the set of stairs or the edge of the gap, whatever you're skating. You're gonna make sure that you're not tipping your body forward or tipping your body towards the tail as you're popping. That's another tendency. Since we're rolling fakie, you're pushing the tail down, and a lot of people tend to lean in that direction. That's no good. We're gonna stay away from that. And then when we're doing that spin, we're gonna be conscious of trying to propel ourselves forward towards the edge of the end of the stairs instead of up. We're not focusing on popping high, we're focusing on popping out, which is another skill that it takes time to acquire. But if you're patient and if you're mindful of what you're doing and you learn what it takes, which parts of your body you need to control, you'll be able to execute that. And then when you land, since we're going downstairs, you're gonna make sure that you crouch, right? And make sure that you're crouching straight down, because after spinning 360 degrees, you're likely gonna have some amount of dizziness. And so you're just gonna be conscious that when you crouch, you're only going straight down. You're not tipping in any direction, right? That is about it for caballerials. Another tip that I'd have for cabbing over obstacles is it's gonna feel very awkward at first. So what I usually do is I usually roll very fast for the first try, and I'll just try to pop from my tail but leave the board behind and let my body complete the rotation, just so I can get an idea of how it feels, get the first jitters out of the way, and then I'll start doing like basically half cabs over it and kicking the board away and trying to turn away a little bit more. Now this only applies to obstacles that I'm kind of unsure of my ability to cab over. Obviously, if it's like a skateboard deck or something, I could just cab over it right away. But these are tips to help you get comfortable so that you can try it over something that you haven't done it over before, a new height. And once you get used to that half cab, you just start slowly spinning it more and more until you feel confident enough. And like I said, when you're cabbing over obstacles, you're usually going to utilize the second method, which is that slide. So you're spinning 270 degrees or more. I think I usually spin more than that. And then you're going to slide the rest of the way with both your wheels on the ground. Obviously, harder wheels are going to help you out for that. So that's all I have for the caballerial video. Thank you for watching. If this helped you, hit that like button, subscribe, consider joining my Patreon, and don't forget to check out Collage Skateboards. I really appreciate the support that I've been getting from you guys. Enjoy skateboarding.